Well, hello, hello, guys. Great to see you on our live broadcast for Scoop on this very busy Monday. We have a huge show prepared for you, and I'm so excited to see so many of you on the live chat. Some of you are new names, new faces to us. And by the way, we hope to see your faces very soon in upcoming broadcasts if you choose. If you decide that you like to be more incognito, which is the way I like to roll most of the time, unless I'm doing something like this. No problem. There's going to be plenty of space for you, but I love being able to interact with you. And it's so nice to see so many of you live. Sherry, Aubrey, Stephanie, great to see you. Claire, Lola, Jeremy, Katie, Carrie, great to see you on the live chat today and so many others. So I look forward to your questions. We produce Scoop for you. This is like made to order news. So you get your questions answered right away. We know that we have Google and AI at our fingertips, but it is nice to be able to work through these things together. And that's the service that we want to provide to you, is a place for you to go, ask your questions, know that you're going to get nonpartisan news where we're going to show you multiple sides. In fact, that's why I was a little late jumping on, because I wanted to make sure I had a couple sides represented for some of these big stories that we're encountering together. And so I think I got it. It's always a little bit more complicated when you introduce a lot of different sounds, but I want to make sure that you guys get that sound, because it's good to have that in your head along with, what other voices you have up there. I have quite a few voices up there these days. All right, let's start with something fun though. First of all, I'm very impressed for any of you who are here, because it is a day that many people call out sick after the Super Bowl. How many of you watched the Super Bowl? My entire family watched the Super Bowl. I had my 5-year-old up till like 9:45 at night. What kind of a mother am I? It was important. It was important. It's a cultural tradition of sorts. And for some reason, he turned into a very big Eagles fan. As I told you last week, the Eagles are having a moment, not the team, but the national bird. President Biden made the eagle the national bird right before he left office. We all thought it already was one, but it was not official. So President Biden did that on his way out. And then we had this huge article by the Associated Press talking about how the Eagles have been able to come back from nearly being extinct or severely endangered, made a great comeback across the United States. So we asked that question last week. Is this the Eagles moment? And I think, Scoop, I think we were on to something. Okay. I think we were. For those of you who think perhaps the Monday after the Super Bowl should be a day where we all just get to take it easy, you are not alone. According to UKG's annual Super Bowl survey, 43% of Americans believe the Monday after the Super Bowl should be a national holiday. Should be a national holiday. Speaking of national holidays, we do have a federal holiday coming up next Monday. It's George Washington's birthday, also known often as President's Day, depending on your state. So if you believe the Super Bowl and George Washington's birthday should be on equal ground, I mean, listen, this is why we asked the question. I'm curious your answers on that. What's interesting about that is that it's up from last year, where only 37% of Americans thought the Monday after the Super Bowl should be a national holiday. So now 4 out of 10, roughly a little bit over 4 out of 10. So I don't know if, I think Congress has a couple things on their plate, things to figure out, but you never know what you could see. And as we talked about over the weekend, for those of you who were able to join us when I had an interview with our insider source on Super Bowl, it's my father, a former NFL quarterback. There is multiple sides to the Super Bowl that actually play into bigger stories, like what's going on with the economy, how much a city like New Orleans will be able to get extra as far as economic stimulus simply by hosting the football game, let alone some of the other decisions that we have all made, including, as I confessed, extra potato chips, salsa, and maybe some chocolate in the household. Those are extra things that you're adding, and that all adds up for the economy overall. Speaking of the economy, one of the things that I did not expect, and there's been many things over the years, my friends, that I have not expected when it comes to the news. If you were to ask me, what would President Trump, the first president to attend a Super Bowl game, what would he talk about in the hours after the game? If he was talking to the press, like, what would be something that he would share? The penny would not be the item that I thought that President Trump would talk about. But we enter into a new week talking about the cent, the 1 penny. And listen, I've written down all sorts of things. penny for your thought, giving your 2 cents. There's a lot of things we could play with here, a lot of dad jokes we can bury in here. But I did not know that that would be a topic of conversation. Turns out, though, there's been a lot of debate about our beautiful little copper penny that we have used throughout most of our lifetimes and whether or not it should stay. And the reason is because it's expensive to produce, more expensive than the cent that it's worth. It's been talked about that it costs about 2 cents to produce a penny. But upon further research, it looks like it's probably costs around 3 cents to produce a penny. And that's why over the last several years, there's been a conversation about whether or not we should just stop making pennies. Important disclaimer here, it would not mean that the penny comes out of circulation. It just means that the mint would no longer produce pennies. How many pennies are there, you might ask? Well, I have a fun fact for you, 114 billion pennies. That is 0.006% of total currency. And so the question we're faced with is it time to no longer make the penny anymore? A lot of different thoughts to that. Think about this. Right now, when you see a sale price, including what you paid to become an insider, which, by the way, thank you so much for that. We appreciate you, and we're so glad you're here. You are helping keeping us independent, and we appreciate that more than you know. And we love making you the priority over an advertiser or over another source. We're going to talk about other sources for funding media, by the way, today. But think about what you paid. You paid $4.99. How many prices do you see with 99 cents? $5.99, $6.99. And so one of the questions for economists is whether or not there could be an inflationary aspect of suddenly not using the penny as a marker. So instead of rounding to 99 cents, you round to a nickel. What would that mean? So would things that were $6.99 become $6.95? Or would they go up in price? Because that's the hope that you're not quite paying $7, but you put whoever's charging you that might need you to pay more than $7 in order to make it work for them. So that's the impact. Why am I talking about this? I buried the lead a little bit. President Trump was talking about the order to stop producing pennies as part of this sort of cost-saving government efficiency theme that's been a part of his new administration. So I'm curious what you think about that. No longer minting pennies. What kind of thoughts come up? Because it's not just about the dollars, is it? The dollars and cents. There's a nostalgia to that. It would be a change. And just speaking very honestly, I thought of those penny we had when we were little kids, we collected coins. And there used to be these books you could collect coins, a penny from 1945. You want to find that, you'd slot it in. 1975, and you'd collect pennies. My brother and I did that quite a bit. And that was a lot of fun. And there's a nostalgia attached to the way things were. And it's hard to have those honest conversations about whether or not the way things were still work, but there's still that emotional attachment. Let me read you a quote from an economics professor at Bentley University to CNBC, David Gully. He said the estimated cost of making a penny at around 3 cents is an economic burden. But he also added this. So fear not, my penny collecting friends. Because millions vanish under couch cushions each year, the U.S. Mint must produce a steady stream of replacements. But he goes on to say, and other economists weigh in here too, that our pennies could, in turn, by the Mint stopping making them, could actually become more valuable, as a little bit of a rare treasure. So there's that too. But isn't that what many could think about or feel, this sort of push-pull between nostalgia, the way things are, the way things were, and change? And this is true of really any administration. We're seeing it in Technicolor with this administration because they're moving so quickly and introducing a lot of new ideas. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is how these executive actions are now being brushed up against in the court of law, and whether or not there will be a future as the executive branch imagines or something different. So we're in a very interesting time period, but what about that push-pull between the way things were, the way things are, and how they could be? Okay, funny fact, and then I'll stop talking about pennies and nickels and quarters. By the way, my kids, I really have to work on them with any sort of currency, because what are they used to? Us, you just swiping a credit card. And they don't even really attach that to money in the same way when we pay them an allowance, for example, or pay them to wash the car, do something like that so they can build up a little equity. Their whole vision of money is so different because they don't handle it very often. But just in case you thought we would stop at pennies, so it takes 3 cents to make a penny. How much do you think it takes to make a nickel? How much do you think it takes to make a nickel? 11 cents. We could be at the dawn of a brand new age, you guys. So just something that we haven't talked a lot about. I thought this was kind of an interesting point. And that kind of launches us, if you will, to talk a little bit about some of the other changes that we're seeing in front of us. Thank you for believing in quick, concise, nonpartisan, smarter news. Every time you join us or share or save our content, you help us build a solution in news, and we are so grateful. We have a few other ways you can support our mission, from joining our insider community Scoop, to shopping our gear at our Smarter shop, to just telling a friend. The best way to do any of this is to visit smarternews.com or follow us at Smarter News on social media. Don't worry, we put all of this in the captions so it's easy for you. Plus, we added our email just in case you want to drop us a note. We always love hearing from you. Thank you for helping us deliver news smarter.